Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dreams Unlimited Travel Parents Panel Podcast. My name is John Magi, and I'll be your host. And in this episode, we're going to talk about cruising, Disney Cruise Line, or maybe other cruise lines with teens. I'm joined this week by our panel of experts, Dreams Unlimited Travel agent and co host of the DCL show, Elaine Edwards,
Hi, friends.
Dreams Unlimited Travel agent, Lacey Post,
Hi, everybody.
and our producer and recent Disney Cruise Line sailor, Craig Williams.
Oh, hoy, hoy.
Oh, it's appropriate this week.
Yeah.
Look at that. I love it when that works out. Like I said, we're going to talk to our folks about traveling with teens on cruises. We're probably going to focus quite a bit on Disney Cruise Line because that's, near and dear to our hearts. But also we might expand out to other cruises as well. As with anything, I imagine that there's a difference. And I'll start with Elaine on this one. I imagine there's a difference with sailing with kids who are younger versus those who are teens on a Disney Cruise Line sailing. We get this question a lot from clients and potential clients. Will my teens enjoy it? Will they have a good time? What is there for them to do? So, Elaine, let's start with what is sort of the conversation you might have with your teen boys when you talk about a possible Disney vacation? Are they for it, or a Disney Cruise Line vacation? Are they for it or are they against it? Would they rather do World?
My kids do like going on Disney Cruise Line. And for them, I feel like they are going to ask, where are we going? I do have one that has said, hey, on our next cruise, I don't want to go to the beach. Well, that knocks out a lot of cruise destinations. So we are wanting to go to Alaska for our next cruise with my kids. And so that's what we are looking at, because then they can do a lot more, not just on the ship, but off the ship. That is not a beach, but it's a lot more kind of learning and history and nature and that kind of thing. So for them, that's the big thing, is where are we going when we plan a Disney cruise adventure.
So it's more about, it's like they'll go, yeah, we're going to go. But it's more about like what itinerary you pick as opposed to yes or no.
Yep.
I feel like Elaine is the perfect Disney parent. I feel like our kids are so into Disney that it's like, this is what they all should do. Craig, are you taking notes about how to raise a kid?
Yeah, I am, but we'll see if I can remember that. I usually lose my notes.
Well, the good news is you have these to go back to. So, when Rory hits 13, you can go back and rewatch these.
True.
Lacey, same question to you. What is the conversation of a possible cruise with your teens? Do they want to do it? Do they not want to do it? Would they do something else instead?
They do like cruising. I think they like the parks better right now, but they do like cruising. We just did an Alaskan cruise last summer and they had a great time. They loved helping me pick out the excursions. We kayaked and we went to see the Alaskan puppies, and they were trying to remember another thing. We did the speedboat thing. They loved that. So as long as I picked excursions that they, were into, they really enjoyed the cruise. But I do think they're more into the parks overall.
Yep. I think that's true of cruises in general, right? The cruise is about the itinerary you pick is really going to dictate what it is you're going to do. Like if you're going to do one of the Caribbean cruises, you might be more inclined to just sit on a beach and relax and swim and things like that. But if you're going to Alaska, you got to do the excursions. You got to see the wilderness. You got to experience all that. Yeah, we did that cruise a couple of times, and then you go and you hold those puppies, and it's like, I don't want to leave.
No.
I want taking it home with me. Elaine, what is the big challenges you face with Disney Cruise Line versus a Walt Disney World vacation? Obviously, I'm sure that there must be something as far as like, what can the kids do, and is there enough for them to do, things like that.
Yes, so there certainly are some challenges that are the same and some challenges that are a little bit different. I spoke about in our other show about going to Disney World with teens about the biggest challenge for my family is the hotel and bedding configuration. Well, that gets even worse when you're talking about a cruise vacation because the rooms are so much smaller and so you are on top of each other. When you're talking about myself, plus three almost 6 foot or over 6 foot boys. And so that becomes a very big thing that we have to get the largest room that we possibly can. Just to give us more space to put our things, more bed options so that nobody has to share with each other. And that is a big challenge. It's obviously a financial challenge and it's a if you're going to go on a 7 night cruise, that is a true test of how much you love each other as far as who you share them with. And so if you get along great with your family and you have no problem with that, then that's great. But if you feel like, okay, mom and dad need a little bit of separation, or, we may not be able to do this, then you might want to look at having 2 staterooms that you can do connecting. And that way you can put kids in one and adults in another and just shut that door. So, that is one of the big challenges as far as my family. And when you are talking about families that have multiple kids, another thing is, like John said, it's just keeping them busy. Some of the other cruise lines may have more things, and I know Lacey was talking about before the show Royal Caribbean. They might have more things that teens enjoy, other than younger kids as far as Disney Cruise Line goes. Because when they do that, then they're in the older kids clubs, and there's only so much activities there that they can do in those teen clubs. So it really comes down to how are they going to your child and how are they going to be able to entertain themselves. So
How do you deal with the space issue? Because I'm going to tell you, I share a room with Kevin, and I don't. Oh, I put his stuff on the balcony, so I can't imagine all of you in one room. I mean, do you sort of set a limit for how much they can bring? How do you deal with that?
So I will tell you that we got very lucky that we booked a ocean view guarantee room and one time, and so in that we just know that we're going to get an ocean view room. We don't know what category we're going to get. We don't know where it's going to be on the ship, anything like that. And they happened to give us a accessible corner room, which
Wow.
is a huge room. So we very much lucked out in that. That is obviously not something that can be planned or anything like that, but definitely take a look at work with your travel agent as far as saying, we need space. And they can really help you with that, especially if you're looking at like the Wish or the Treasure, with some of those rooms can be on the bump out and maybe they have a little bit larger space both inside or out on the balcony. It kind of gives you a little bit more. We definitely have to be very creative as far as packing goes. And usually we will do that. I'm not allowing them to bring 3 outfits for every single day. We bring half as much as we need. We do the laundry halfway through the cruise. So that can really cut down because it's very limited as far as space goes, and drawer space and closet space and just space in general. So it definitely comes down to some creative thinking.
I gotta tell you, I find with the new ships, not being as familiar with the Wish and of course the Treasure, but I'm finding that I'm doing a lot more stuff on this thing called the internet, where I'm looking at videos of staterooms more and more to make sure it fits our needs. Because you think, okay, I know what a category 4A is like on the Magic or the Wonder, but it might feel different. It might have different storage capacities on the newer ships. So I think it's funny because it's kind of like for a while, you go on automatic pilot. I know I could book this thing and I know I'm going to get what I need, but you really have to do more research these days.
You
Um,
do. I will tell you that I have not taken my kids on the Wish yet, but I myself have stayed on it, and I said there's no way that the four of us could be in one room because of the Wish staterooms have less storage. They just do. There is less drawer space, there's less shelving than the other ships, and it's for me and my family. I don't think that the four of us could be in one room on the Wish or the
Yeah.
Treasure. So
I don't blame you. I'm finding the same thing, and I know we're big Disney Cruise Line fans, and we want people to book. But I think this is a consideration. Make sure you take a look at the stateroom for sure. Lacey, Elaine mentioned this before we started the show. We talked a little bit about you've taken your kids on Royal Caribbean. What is the consideration between do we do a Disney Cruise Line ship versus do we do a Royal Caribbean sailing? Is it about the stateroom? Is it about the activities they can do?
So when we did our Alaskan cruise, we did do Royal Caribbean for that one, mainly because we knew we wanted to do a ton of excursions, and financially it was just going to be better for us. But we did get 2 connecting inside staterooms because we were putting our money on the excursions, and it worked great because they each had their own bed. Also, they're not really into the kids clubs anymore. But Avery did go to the teen clubs on Royal Caribbean a lot, and he enjoyed them. But Eli wanted to hang out with us a lot more. So they're very different personalities there. So that was, I guess, the price was kind of our biggest consideration. But knowing that they weren't as much into the kids clubs too, also was a consideration.
Do they miss things like the Disney shows and the Disney quote unquote magic of the ship? Because that's something people ask all the time. Am I going to miss that if I try a different cruise line?
They're not into shows at all right now. So it wouldn't matter if it was Disney or Royal Caribbean. I think we got them to go to the show with the juggler on Royal Caribbean, and they did laugh and they enjoyed him. He was a comedian too, but they're just not into shows. They would go to the pool or the hot tub or, to the teen club while we went to the shows. I wish they would watch them. Hopefully they'll change their mind on the shows.
Did they do like the Flow Rider and stuff like that? The more active stuff, the rock wall maybe?
Oh, yes. They love the rock wall. And that was really cool in Alaska. So they love that experience. And another thing about teenage boys and cruising is how I said on the last episode, how they love to eat. And they can eat as much as they want on a cruise ship. So that always entertained them. If they got bored, they just went and ate more food.
Just go and eat.
Yeah.
I had that in my notes as well because it's so great because they can sit there at dinner and they can order as much as they want. They can order 3 desserts if they want to. They can go up to the pool deck and get chicken fingers as much as they want. And my kids are very famous for 11 o'clock at night placing a room service order on Disney Cruise Line. Every single night at 11 o'clock, they order chicken fingers and Mickey bars, and that's like 4th dinner. And I don't know why, it's just become a tradition that's what they do. So the food and unlimited food is a big perk.
I was going to ask about dining. I was going to say, listen, but I think if the feeling I get is that you guys do this anyway, but does the idea that you're all coming together at dinner, is that something that they're good with and they're okay with, Elaine? Are they, or are they more like, listen, I'm not having a good time, I'm not coming to dinner with you?
So I will tell you that my kids do, they do like the kids clubs and the teen clubs. So there are times that's the only time that I see them is at dinner because I'm very demanding that we will eat dinner together. And so they are okay with that because they know my kids really like to eat. So they are okay with that. But it is hard to kind of pull them away from that kind of stuff. So.
So, Lacey, I know you've done both with your kids, Disney Cruise Line and Royal Caribbean, and I realize that probably knowing how I was as a teen boy, you're not that particular about your food. But was there any difference in the food quality, do you think, for your kids? Did they find that, oh boy, I really missed getting Mickey bars on the Disney Cruise Line ship, or did it not really matter? It was the same food no matter what?
They like the food on both. I don't I don't think they probably prefer one over the other. Avery's really big into right now getting his protein and trying to put on weight for soccer. So he really liked steak and getting a lot of different meats. So that was good. And they love the ice cream on both ships. So they're always getting ice cream. Um, so I don't think they're just not picky. They'll eat about whatever.
And Royal, I don't know what ship you went on, but Royal has, grab and go locations that are open all day long, so they can go and get pizza or uh, chicken fingers or whatever it is, they sandwiches that they have during the day. So I imagine they like that.
Oh yes, they love that. They were always getting snacks constantly.
I have a question for Lacey about food on Royal Caribbean because I have not taken my kids on Royal Caribbean. So when we go on Disney Cruise Line, kind of one of the perks that they really like as far as food is the soda machines because they can go and they can get as much soda as they want. And at dinner, they can order soda and it doesn't cost any extra because it's eating having soda when they go out is a treat for them because I don't keep soda in my house, and so that's their big treat for them. Do you have to then buy like drink packages for your kids to do that, or are they okay with like not having that, or how does that work with your family?
Okay, so fortunately, they used to love Dr. Pepper. They would always order Dr. Pepper anytime we went out, but now they've kind of gotten over that. I think maybe they're even trying to be a little healthier. So we just said on this last cruise, we're not getting the drink package, and they were perfectly okay with that. I told them if we were in port and they wanted something, they could get that. We did get the coffee cards, and we gave them so many coffee credits because they do like the specialty coffees now. So that was kind of the trade off there. We all enjoyed the coffee drinks.
I know that a big conversation for Disney Cruise Line fans, considering other cruise lines, is the fact that there's free soda and the soda machines, Elaine. But one of the things that we found is that the price difference is so large between a Royal Caribbean cruise line and a Disney Cruise Line sailing, in that yeah, you do have to pay for a soda package, but it doesn't come anywhere near the cost of the Disney Cruise Line sailing itself. So you can afford to give them the soda package. And I don't know about every single Royal Caribbean ship right now, but all of the ones I've been on, they do the soda freestyle machines. So you get your kids the soda package, and they get a cup, and it's good for the length of your cruise, and they can go up to one of many of these freestyle machines and then just help themselves. So, something to consider there is, yeah, it's great that Disney Cruise Line has the soda machines all the time, but the fact that a package will never be as much as, being on a Disney Cruise Line sailing. And also, your packages are different. You can get the all-inclusive ones. You can get coffees, and you can get specialty drinks and all of that. So, um, yeah, we got to get you and your kids on a Royal Caribbean sailing for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited to start branching out with them and doing other cruise lines, other things, that kind of thing. Now that they're older, it's kind of nice that you don't have to stay within what and just going to Disney World. You can start taking them other places and looking at other destinations and other countries and other cruise lines, and kind of opens up a whole new thing. So it's fun.
Absolutely. So let's going back a little bit to Disney Cruise Line. One of the issues that clients have raised to us is that when they have kids who span an age group, that there seems to be some issues with, okay, one kid is in one age group, so goes to one kids program, and another one goes to another, and maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. Did you experience that, Elaine, when you were traveling with your kids, or were they? Because I know it sounds like your boys are close, so it seems like they would all want to do the same thing at the same time.
If they are together, they will gladly hang out with each other, but all three of them are very, very, very independent. And so for them, it's not a problem as far as going into different levels of the clubs. Because if they were in there, they wouldn't be hanging out with each other anyways, even if they were in the same ones. It's just not the way that they are. So yeah, for them, it's not an issue, but I do know for other people, it is an issue. That they are wanting to have their kids, they're saying, can my younger son go into Edge so that he can be with his brother because he doesn't want to be by himself. And so, even though he's not old enough to get in, so it does kind of become an issue. And it is something to think about if your kids are like that and they do want to stay together, looking at what the cutoff is for each of the clubs. So,
What do you advise clients? I mean, I know you say look at the cutoff, but is there anything they can do? Can a client do where Disney might help them out, or is Disney going to be no? You have to be in this age group.
I know that there are, I don't guarantee anything, honestly, because I do know that there are some people that do talk about they've been able to get their younger child in. Um, but that is not anything we can guarantee. That is, if the clubs are already full, if they're understaffed, that is nothing. All they can do is ask and request, but there is no guarantee that they can do that. So I do know that as far as older coming down, they definitely, that is a hard line. They will not let, if your kid is over 18, they are not going to allow them to come into those, or I'm sorry, is 18. Once they turn 18, they cannot come into the kids clubs at all unless it's during the open houses. So they won't be able to get into the teen clubs vibe, which is the one that goes up to age 17. Once they hit 18, they cannot come in at all. And that is a whole new issue because then they don't know what to do with themselves. I talked to a friend of mine who just sold recently with her son, who he had just turned 21. And so he was over that like 18 to 20 society, and he just turned 21. And I asked her, I'm like, did he have a good time? Did he find things to do? Like, did he find other people to hang out with? Like, how did that work? And she said he did. He'd started going to the 18-20 society meetups, and he kind of met some people there, and then they kind of started meeting up and doing their own things. So it is kind of a different challenge if they're used to the kids clubs, and now it's like, well, what do I do with myself now? So I think the big thing is trying to get them to meet other people around their age that they can hang out with. So
Yeah, I think there's also that we get that question quite a bit. Maybe not as specific with Disney Cruise Line, but we get those for Adventures by Disney trips. Will there be kids the same age as my kids? Because you want to give them the chance to meet others and go out and have a good time and not just be stuck with mom and dad the whole time. Lacey, what about you and your kids for the clubs? Did you ever sail Disney Cruise Line with the whole club issue and age issue, or is that something that was not something you experienced?
So we did do the kids club on Disney cruise ship on the Dream, and my boys did enjoy the Disney clubs. And they're 2 years apart, so when we went, they were able to stay together. And we also had friends on the ship, and their son was around the same age as Avery and Eli, so he was also with them. And they had a really good time, and it was fortunate that they could all be together.
Is that something that the kids look forward to on a Disney cruise? Is the kids club program something like, oh my gosh, I want to go back and do that? Or is that just kind of like, oh yeah, it's something I do? Elaine, what do you think about that?
100%. My kids absolutely love the clubs. And so that is a big part of their experience. My kids are not ones that will just sit in a chair on deck and watch the ocean go by. That is not their idea of fun. They do want to be entertained. And so they are in the kids clubs a lot. They are in there for many hours a day. So
let me ask you this. Do you put a curfew on your kids on the cruise line? Do they have to be back by a certain time? Or do you feel like, oh, it's safe on a Disney cruise and go have fun?
For the most part, I do not. I do allow them to stay as long as they want. I do very much demand that we all have dinner together and that they, shower and dress nice before we go to dinner. And then, if there's anything that I have specifically planned that I want us to do as a family, like an activity or a show or something like that, then I will tell them, we are going to do this at this time. So make sure that you're back to the room early so we can go do that. And then, you also have to think about what your plans are the next day. If you're getting up early and you're going to get off the ship at 8 a.m. for a big activity heavy excursion, then maybe you don't want your kids coming back at 3 a.m. and kind of doing the whole burn the candle at both ends thing. That does not work on a cruise ship at all, even though a lot of us try to do it. So it, for the most part, I allow them to be in there as much as they want, with a little bit of restrictions. So
For me, it always catches up to me that last morning. It's always like, oh my God, I got to get up so early and get things ready and get off the ship. And you think, why did I stay out so late that last night? Lacey, I'm going to go to you for, did you and your family experience any of the specialty dining on Royal? And were the kids impressed by it? Did they not care? Did you stick to the dining rooms?
We stuck to the dining rooms. We just didn't, like I said, we were doing all these excursions and we were putting our money there, so we didn't pay the extra for the specialty dining, and they're okay with the food in the main dining rooms. They're perfectly happy and they snack throughout the day all day, so we didn't feel like there was a great need for it. But I would like to experience it maybe on the next cruise.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's another consideration. Where do you put your money? Where's the most important part to the vacation itself? So if they're not going to be, specifically, are your kids foodies? Then there's no reason to do specialty dining. So what I want to know is, what have I forgotten to ask you? What are some tips or tricks, or what's the thing? Maybe Elaine, we'll start with you, that you really want folks to know who are booking a Disney Cruise Line vacation with their teens. This is the thing I want to make sure you guys understand about that type of vacation, especially taking into consideration how expensive it is, right? And that this is, for some people, you might be able to afford more of a Walt Disney World vacation as opposed to the Disney Cruise Line vacation, or vice versa. I don't know. Now things are so expensive. But, what are the tips and tricks you want to give folks to take into consideration for Disney Cruise Line?
I think the biggest thing is, like we said on the other show with teens, is really involving them in the planning, and even more so here, because a cruise is a big financial commitment, and you have all of those extra things. Specialty dining, you have the excursions, you have the activities, you have all of that. So I think you're going to have to really sit down and have those planning meetings together as a family. First, picking, which destination can everybody agree on? Can everybody like? Is everybody going to get something out of? Is it a beach vacation? Is it going to Europe? What interests your family? And then, okay, so which ship are we going to be going on then? Okay, what are the offerings on the ship? And just work your way through that with your family and say, okay, we have X amount of dollars. So would you guys rather do this excursion or would you rather do this activity? Like, I think it really just takes some time as far as going through all of that together. And then I think also, if your family hasn't been on a cruise before, I would definitely talk to your kids about, this is a different kind of experience. Just talk about some of the etiquette things that go on with being on a ship, that, you're running around and you've got a group of boys and they're running through the halls and being loud, that's not a great thing. Just things like that. I would kind of give them a little bit of a talk about that kind of stuff, so that they can be a good cruiser to their fellow guests.
I think that's an excellent point. It's something we didn't really cover is taking them for their first cruise. Yeah, for sure. You talk about you can't run through the halls and be crazy. And there also, there's going to be times when the ship will have a curfew. You have to be, not out and doing things at a certain amount of time. What about, Elaine, what about maybe dining etiquette with other people around, or anything else like that you think you would coach your teens on? Or do you think it's just part of, what they should be doing anyway?
So I do think that that is kind of does go along with it, because when you're talking about cruising on, especially on Disney Cruise Line, those are considered, fine dining restaurants. Then the tables are very close together. And I will say that probably my family is a little guilty of we can get a little rambunctious at dinner because we're just having a good time together. But it is something to kind of, just be aware of the people around you because you are very close together. Talk about, I I pack vitamins that we take every single morning and every single afternoon, and we talk about washing our hands a bazillion times on a cruise because we don't want to come home with a cruise crud, which we never have, thank goodness. So we talk about, I tell them when they go to the kids clubs, wash your hands a bazillion times, please. So that does all go along together with it.
It's excellent. That's all really, really good advice. Lacey, I'm going to let you have the last word. What do you want to let folks know about sailing, cruising with teens? If you want to, throw in a little bit of compare and contrast, you meant to say, Disney Cruise Line with Royal Caribbean. But what do you think folks really should know when planning a cruise with teens?
So we've been surprised at just how much our boys enjoy the simple amenities on the cruise ships. So we play a lot of pool, a lot of shuffleboard. They could play ping pong all day. And we'll usually sometimes just happen upon a tournament. We kind of create one, not even meaning to. So we'll have other people on the cruise ship that join in. And so they could spend hours just doing all those activities. And that keeps us together. So we've really enjoyed that. And that doesn't cost anything extra. Like I said, mine are not into the shows right now, but they love just those simple amenities on the ship. So don't overlook those. And make sure you take advantage of everything on the ship. And we like trivia too. Actually, on the last Royal Caribbean cruise we took, they had a Harry Potter trivia night, and my boys really got into that. They enjoyed it, and that's one we could do as a family. So, look for those free things on the ship that kind of everyone will enjoy. And on the Disney Cruise Line, last time we did that, they really liked the drawing ones. So we did some of those, and I've still got pictures on the refrigerator where they drew Stitch and different things like that. So I love to find those activities that all four of us enjoy. So I would definitely recommend doing that on the cruise ships, whether it's Royal or Disney Cruise Line. And, as far as differences between Royal and Disney with the boys, just as they've gotten older, like I said, Avery would go and he hung out a lot in the teen club, but Eli not so much. But they're definitely not into it as much as they were when they were smaller. So that's not as big of a consideration. And it is more affordable on a Royal Caribbean cruise. And we're not really into a lot of the drink packages. So that doesn't even bother us really. We just like a good coffee. So I think they enjoy both.
What you said was excellent advice. One of the things that happens a lot on cruises is we're running around and we're trying to do so much, and we're trying to get from point A to point B, is that we miss the small stuff. I agree with you. Royal Caribbean has really fun trivia stuff. And it's usually, in the middle of the day or early evening or something, and you could stumble across one. And it's not a lot of time. It's a little bit out of your day, but it's those little one-off things that really create memories, because it's not about, I got to get here and I got to get to dinner. It's about, taking into account, taking advantage of all of the smaller stuff. Mm-hmm. Ladies, thank you very much for the conversation. I truly appreciate it. Again, anybody at home wants to work with either Elaine or Lacey on a vacation, cruise line vacation, Disney Cruise Line, Royal Caribbean, please reach out to them directly, or you can write to me, john@dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. But that's it. Thank you again for participating. Thank you, everybody at home, for listening and watching. We hope you have a great week, and we hope you have a great vacation.